connected to the internet. You formed communities with people around the world that you didn't know. Or that's what my parents thought, at least. I started my first business when I was 13 years old in World of Warcraft. We were 50 people slaying dragons together online. And I would later learn in life that it's actually not that different than running a startup. And those early years of my life sparked a lifelong interest in media and technology, how they change the way that we create, consume, play, and communicate. And in 2016, I discovered a research paper called Face to Face by Professor Matthias Niesner and his team. They'd built a system that, using neural networks, could produce really, really photorealistic video. And when I saw this for the first time, I felt like I'd seen magic. And I was convinced that in 10 years, you're going to be able to create a Hollywood film from your bedroom without needing anything else than just your imagination. That's in 3 years, and I think that's actually going to hold up. I couldn't get this idea out of my mind, and eventually I ended up founding Synthesia, an AI video company, along with Matthias and Lourdes and Stefan, my co-founders. And this really was a way to kind of marry my interest in media and technology and sci-fi. We started the company with the vision of making...
Okay, so for the last minute and 40 seconds, which I have sat here for a minute and 40 seconds, and you have watched me watch this. Just put that in perspective. But this dude is now just pushing a product, I'm pretty sure. Like, he's promoting a product he had, and he's probably just got on stage just to promote
everyone in the world into a Hollywood kind of typical context for and even if to a podcast,
dude, it's literally just talking about modern shit.
And only if I'm really, really invested in something, I'll take the hours out of my day to read a 200-page book. It just doesn't feel that much like it's worth it anymore.
Yeah. Oh, shit.
For a lot of you probably feel the same. Do you want to learn music theory from a long book or from a video on YouTube that has audio? Do you want to listen to the news on a podcast on the way to work or fold out this physical piece of paper somewhere? Most people feel like this, but we all have this guilt. I have, at least. I feel guilty when I watch videos and when I listen to podcasts instead of picking up a good old-fashioned book. And you hear the commentary on this. Young people are unable to focus anymore. They need constant dopamine hits from cheap content that they scroll through on their social media apps. They don't get outside their room anymore.
Oh, fuck. Okay, so he's making a good point. Like, a lot of people are, dude, I know somebody. I don't know, not somebody. I know multiple people that will sit, like, in their bed and just doom scroll for, like, 4 or 5 hours. Like, dude, they don't have no jobs. Like, dude, they're almost grown. Like, they're in my class. I'm almost grown. And they've got... I'm like, holy crap, people. Like, damn, man, y'all kind of got to do something. You gotta get up in the morning and go do something. He's right about it. And, like, the way we don't, like... Yeah, like, you think about when you're, like, gonna set up the time to read a book, like some people, the only book they really ever read would be, like, the Bible. Like, and that would only be on Sunday for them. So, like, yeah, like, take the day. So, he's right. Holy shit. Like, we're going to see these other two, see how that shit is.
Exactly the same thing parents have been saying for 200 years. I have a provocative idea. What if we're all just tired of overly dense, slow information? Books with too many pages, newspaper articles with filler. What if we become much more sensitive to the quality and the conciseness of the content that we consume because we now have infinite choice? What if the current generation of kids are able to learn and absorb information much faster because of technology, not despite it? Is the problem us, or is the problem text? We still read a lot, right? We just read from many different sources every single day, not just a book and a newspaper. Read our messaging apps and our social media networks and a blog. We listen to long-form podcasts. It's very growing, right? But we still have this idea that books are morally superior in some sense. And even though I'm giving you this talk, I still very much feel it. I don't know why that is. I'll let someone else do the research on that. But it's definitely very interesting how we psychologically attribute more value to the written word. So why so much information still text if we really prefer video? It's pretty simple. The answer is cost. Cost in time and cost in money.
Okay, yeah, it's just some slop. Like he's not really making a point. Like he was right. He mentioned things that were correct that I would agree with, but he didn't. He's not making a point at all. Like that's why I'm just kind of sitting here like waiting for something to read because he's not making a point. Let's get through this on. Go fuck about
Fossil fuel.
none of this. All right. What's this about? Vegetables of the future, I think. Food for the future. Whatever. Why is my fucking?
We need to start
There you
with
go.
why things have to change.
Why do things have to change? Chapter 1, how we got here. Oh no.
About 10,000 years ago, humans began to farm.
I already know
A
this.
How can we feed
They went from farm. Some of them learned how to do cheese and like preserve food. And then when clay pottery came about, holy shit, dude. Yeah. Let's go here.
It's literally off
Yeah.
the chart.
Well,
So this is
because you
kind of
have
a big
diesel,
deal,
right?
and that's one of the
Diesel,
reasons
diesel
among many
involved in
that
this,
shifting diets towards more plant-rich options is a good idea for climate.
So the way we produce food and the
South
food we
Africa, like,
choose to
climate
eat
change, yeah.
certainly affects our climate, but it's also a two-way street. Our warming climate is already affecting our ability to grow food in more dramatic and personal ways than you might think. To learn more, I went to a very unusual dinner party with senior
let's see.
traded that Fast Supper, featuring foods
cakes. In the Pacific Northwest, 9 billion of that population. Here, we lost
Who the
90.
fuck is this guy? Dude, even out your accessories.
5% of the Georgia peach crop. In our lifetimes, I don't believe we'll be growing peaches in Georgia at all.
Really?
There are going to be some people listening who are like, well, boo-hoo, you and your fancy friends can't have your champagne, your cava, and your crab cakes. Exactly. How do you explain the stakes to them?
Oh, I wish I could stop there.
What the fuck? Okay, so I want to learn about like the
Chickpea.
food, like actually
Some,
like what is going
wait,
to be
that's
grown
not
in the
eat
future.
to-
That is what I'm here for.
Collectively, like how we, I'm number.
humans eat. And no one likes to give up something that they love. But eating sustainably doesn't have to mean giving up on enjoying food. It does mean introducing more people to different kinds of food, which can be way more fun than you might think. Atlanta entrepreneur Pinky Cole is famous for a chain of fast food restaurants called Slutty Vegan.
Hello to all my fellow sluts in the audience.
Oh, that is.
You heard that right.
Corny as fuck. Slop.
Imagine if I'm also a neuroscientist who spent the past 25 years doing research on the adolescent brain. And I've learned that there's an explosion of growth during this time in life that leads to some pretty amazing superpowers. For example, besides when we are babies, our brains are most fertile for learning during adolescence, and that's necessary for us to become adults. So what can all of us in this room learn from adolescents? Well, the first is they don't shy away from uncertainty. Most adults fear uncertainty. We don't like when we don't know what's going to happen next. But teens, they embrace the surprises in life. Whether it's their first job, or they're learning to drive, or their first kiss, these things are thrilling because of the uncertainty. It's because the adolescent brain doesn't panic when things are new or unexpected. And in fact, it releases more dopamine in these moments. You may know that dopamine is a hormone that we release when we're doing something we love. Well, it's also a motivating chemical that literally motivates adolescents to embrace the uncertainty and to see the surprises in life as positive learning opportunities. And that attribute during adolescence to
Okay, so
lean in.
she's saying I've studied the brain over 25 years. So like, and she's noticed an explosion of growth. I mean, yeah, teenagers becoming adults, we're kind of like thrust into it. So I guess there has to be. But
Into the new and unexpected aspect. That's lesson number. How good the predator brains are
she's
designed.
only talking like 20 fucking people. Worry about everything.
Making change. And thank goodness we have a time in life when we're so bold and adventurous. But we're not the only ones on this earth who think that way. It turns out that most species on Earth have an adolescent period when we're more likely to take risks and explore the world. All animals do what human adolescents do during this time. We spend more time with peers, we squabble with adults, we eat more food, and we stumble through a changing social landscape. Because becoming an adult doesn't happen overnight. Whether you're a puppy or a human adolescent, it takes time, experience, and learning.
True.
But guess what? This is what makes the adolescent brain so special. It's literally designed to help kids transform into the next dimension of life. And they do this by learning, by taking risks, by sometimes making mistakes. When our kids are babies, we don't challenge this process. A baby learning to walk actually falls about 100 times a day. A baby learning to talk babbles before producing words. And sometimes they stumble while they're doing this. And our teenagers are doing the same thing. They're not learning to walk and to talk, of course, but they're also learning new skills. And in this way, they're kind of like scientists because they're exploring the world around them through trial and error. So that's the second lesson, is to feel comfortable stumbling and to experiment and to stir things up. What's number 3? Teenagers are strategic risk takers. I'll let that sink in and then I'm going to say it again. Teenagers are strategic risk takers. And this is because their brains...
Okay, so I can agree with that. Like, I know when to, was it? I was literally talking about it yesterday with the fuel line. Risk assessment. Yeah. I was like, okay, so to take everything off to get to the fuel line that's in between a carburetor, like there's 2 carburetors and there's one in here and there's an airbox right here that's completely flat that I cannot get to, or so I can't get to. And so, and there's a hole on the end of it. So either I could patch it or I could take the whole thing off. Because, like, it's easy to get to. I can reach it. Like, I can reach it with my hand. I can just, like, grab it. But I just decided to patch it because it was not worth the time for me to take all of that crap off to reach that one little bit just to take it off because it was only that side that was broken. So, yeah, I can agree with her.
Are really good at deciding when they should and shouldn't take a risk. More than you might think, their risks aren't random, and in fact, they may be beneficial. I know this because we did a brain imaging study in the lab, and we found that while the adults were really good at talking themselves out of taking a risk, even when it made sense to do so, the teenagers were more deliberative. And we were blown away to see that their brains were evaluating the positive risks and the negative risks. And this was tied to activation in a brain region that is really good at helping us weigh the pros and cons of taking a risk. And you might wonder, well, is taking a risk in the lab the same as taking a risk in real life? And the answer is it doesn't really matter because the brain treats all risk-taking the same. And so what we learned from this study is that adolescents are more willing to take risks because of the changes happening in their brain, and that this is beneficial for them to do so. And when I say beneficial...
My parents don't want me to take no damn risks. My parents are assholes. Okay. Oh, I'm not gonna finish this. What's it? Conclusion? Yeah. Honestly, I give this one like solid 7 out of 10. First one, 4. It's kind of slop. Other one, 4. It's kind of slop. Subscribe to this channel. It's a pretty alright channel. I'll see y'all around.